Hi, I'm Jack,
And I'm Matt.
and this is Little Bits, the podcast where we talk about movies, TV shows, and other stuff we think is neat. Today we've got Marshall on the podcast. Marshall, say hello.
Hello.
Marshall's in the corner enjoying his Cheez-Its right now until his time comes.
Today we're going to be talking about Bojack Horseman and also just all things VR.
All right,
Let's get started.
let's hop right into the news. Okay. All right, so Bojack Horseman is a Netflix original animated series about a anthropomorphic horse who lives in like Hollywood, where
I think you mean Hollywood.
Hollywood, yeah, we'll get to that later, where most of the people there are anthropomorphic animals with like some humans mixed in.
Yes.
And in this show, Bojack is a washed-up actor from the 90s. He was on a like Full House-esque show called Horseman Around, and he's just like living off the money from that.
Yeah.
And throughout the show, you see him like write his own book, start acting in movies, but the main plot of the show is just him like trying to be happy.
It's him trying to be happy, but then all of his choices from the past and the present all catch up with him, and his life just starts spiraling out of control, basically.
And then throughout the show, he reaches many different low points and high points, and it's a very depressing show.
Definitely the most depressing show I've ever watched.
Yeah, but also like still is able to be a comedy somehow.
I think the only reason they put so much comedy in it is just for comedic relief, because if it wasn't there, the show would be too depressing.
And then I think if it wasn't animated, I wouldn't be able to get through it.
Yes.
It's one of the most just like
Heart-wrenching.
Yeah, heart-wrenching shows I've ever seen. But so we're going to talk about all the things we like about it today.
And all the things we don't like.
Yeah?
Even though it's not much.
Okay, so why are you just laughing in the corner, Marshall?
No.
If you have any comments,
watched Altered
Marshall,
Carbon
feel
last
free
night.
to...
You watched Altered Carbon?
All of it?
Yeah, I watched it until 2 a.m. and then the voices in my head kept me up until 5.
All right, Marshall.
Oh, that's more recent news for later. Hold on.
Okay,
What?
me and Charlie were up till 4 a.m. watching Bojack Horseman.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Is he doing his first watch through right
Yeah, and I'm watching it with him. So he's pretty into it.
now? It's a good show.
So, first of all, the animation in the show is very wacky.
Very goofy, yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the bathroom?
I swear to God, Marshall, it's right around the corner. The animation is very crazy, and I think it needs to be in order to like balance with the very depressing nature of the show.
And there's a bunch of really goofy characters like Todd.
Yeah.
That just kind of keep the show balanced and keep you from losing your mind.
So the animation style is very like all the characters are very detailed, but all the backgrounds and stuff seem like very sloppily done.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think I really like the style of the show, especially all the colors. There's a lot of like bright colors.
Yeah. It's not too much where it ruins it, though. Okay, so a big part of the show is Bojack's experience with drugs. Within the first few seasons,
Marshall perked up at that.
He uses a lot of drugs, and at first it makes his life better because he doesn't have to deal with all the bad stuff that's going on with him. But it spirals out of control, which is a big theme of the show, just everything spiraling out of control and Bojack not being able to help himself anymore.
And it starts hurting the people around him.
Yes, that is a big part as well. In the later seasons, Bojack goes to rehab, and that is something. Jack, you want to comment on that?
On him going to rehab?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was a good part of the show. Let's start earlier, though.
Okay.
'Cause that's like the last season.
I don't know where to start, though.
Okay, it starts off, he's very, lethargic all the time and just like really no one really likes him because he's just like kind of a jerk to everyone.
Mm-hmm. But people,
even though like he's really very relatable because like he says all the like politically incorrect things that everyone's thinking. Like the third episode's about him saying that not everyone in the military is heroes.
and the media goes off on him, and his agent wants him to go out and apologize. And
but he won't apologize. And this all started because he stole some apple fritters from a Navy SEAL.
in a grocery store.
Yeah, and the Navy SEAL said he had dibs on them. And by the way, the Navy SEAL is also an actual SEAL.
Yeah.
His name is Neil McBeal, the Navy SEAL.
Oh my god.
The animal puns all the way through this are amazing.
Yes, they have so many animal puns and just random like rhyming phrases. You
Yeah,
know those?
the
I don't know how
tongue
to describe-
twisters.
Yeah.
Yeah, like one of the characters, Princess Carolyn, is always like she's Bojack's agent, and she's always like putting together like crazy tongue twisters, like all the stuff with Courtney Portnoy.
I don't know how these voice actors keep up.
Yeah,
with it.
let me
It's
just
crazy.
like look some of these up. Matt, you can talk about the next thing while I look up some of the tongue twisters.
All right, so I wouldn't. Jack said earlier that nobody really likes Bojack, and that's not really the case. The people who don't know Bojack love Bojack, but the people who really get to know Bojack and then become really close to him, they end up not liking Bojack because everything he does is for himself and never for anybody else. So everybody around him gets hurt. So Todd, who is definitely a comedic relief character, crashes on his couch in the first couple of seasons. It's just because Todd went to a party at Bojack's house and just never left. And Bojack was just like, okay, I guess you can stay here.
Okay, I found one of my favorite tongue twisters. Princess Carolyn says, "In Corpse Me If You Can, the Cannes, France set story of a can dancer who contracts cancer but continues to can as a canny cadaver who plays the accordion with Kevin Corrigan, Kevin Kline, Chris Pine, and Chris Catton." Which, reading it off was hard to understand.
And Princess Carolyn goes a lot faster than that.
So there's like most of the time at least one of those in an episode, sometimes more if like it's a crazy one.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of like running gags like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, back to Todd. So
yeah.
Todd is Bojack's best friend until Bojack basically does one thing. I don't remember what it is specifically.
It was the rock opera.
The rock opera. So Todd spent like all of his Todd has never really done anything with his life because he's never found anything that he was passionate about. But he discovered something called rock opera, and Todd loved this.
He makes his own rock opera.
So he writes his own, and he spends all of his time on it, like 3 months, and then Bojack pays
character actress Margot Martindale.
Character actress Margot Martindale to basically ruin the rock opera. Why did he do that? I don't even remember.
Because he didn't like the attention Todd was getting and wanted Todd to like. He was afraid Todd was gonna leave him.
Yeah. So he didn't want Todd to leave him.
Because Todd lives on Bojack's couch.
Yeah. So Bojack basically was being so selfish that he didn't want Todd to succeed to leave him. And then when Todd finds out that he did not succeed because of Bojack, he ends up leaving Bojack for that.
Mm-hmm. And that whole episode is so sad.
Yeah.
Because Todd is the most wholesome character of all time, and everyone loves Todd. And it just hurts.
It does hurt. I miss Todd.
Me too.
Todd.
I forgot your dad's name is Todd.
Nickname Todd the Bod. Todd the Bod, if you're watching this, nice.
What the fuck?
Marshall, you can't say that.
What the frick?
You did not say what the frick.
I can't say frick?
No.
You have to bleep out frick? So every time I say frick, you have to...
No, you didn't say what the frick, though.
Oh, I am allowed to say frick.
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't say anything. I said frick.
Yeah, that's what you said.
You
Okay.
have to bleep that out too.
No.
Probably.
Okay. Back to Bojack Horseman. What's next? Okay. There's that whole prom episode.
Oh my gosh.
But I don't really want to get into that.
That's touchy.
There's
Another thing that this show does really well is it touches on things that most people don't want to think about.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, let's skip that and go on to Sarah Lynn.
No,
So
talk about it.
what?
No.
Talk about it.
It's not podcast appropriate.
It's really not podcast appropriate.
Yeah.
What do you mean podcast?
School podcast appropriate.
Marshall, just because you ignore this, I'm not gonna go into Marshall's YouTube channel. Okay, so the climax of season 3 is Bojack and one of the kids from his old like Full House kind of show, except she's grown up now, Sarah Lynn, going on like a month-long drug bender.
Yes.
Where they just like are high for a month straight.
And Sarah Lynn was fresh out of rehab too.
Yeah, and she was completely sober.
She was completely sober, and then Bojack was like, "Hey, you want to do some drugs?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure." So they go on a month-long bender, and it ends with Sarah Lynn's heroin overdose.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the saddest moments in the show.
And it's not because we lose Sarah Lynn, because she's a relatively new character in the show. Like nobody's really attached to her, but it's because Bojack had the opportunity to save her, but then ends up not doing that.
And Sarah Lynn was like a daughter to Bojack.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, they weren't actually related, but like through this show, they spent so much time together.
Mm-hmm.
He acted as her father.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the fact that he would, like, not betray her, but like, do this to her and not save her, like let her die and get her back into drugs, causing her death, is a very low point for Bojack's character.
And the only reason he let her die was because he was afraid of the consequences of giving her heroin.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but then later in the show, he goes to rehab. he gets sober. It's kind of a process, but he makes it. But then in the last few episodes, he has to deal with his consequences, with the consequences of his actions.
yeah.
And then that culminates in the second to last episode, where he gets drunk again and
Right.
ends up drowning in his pool. And the last episode is just entirely him drowning and a hallucination he's having in his mind while all of his synapses are firing in his brain as he's dying, of him like eating dinner with all of the people in his life that have died, like his best friend who he betrayed that died of cancer, Sarah Lynn that he let die,
His mother.
yeah, his mother who died, who he left in a nursing home with dementia.
Yeah. His idol that he... Well, a famous racehorse that he idolized his entire youth. Who
That killed himself.
killed himself. And it wasn't... Bojack never actually, like, met him or anything. He's just an idol for some reason.
Mm-hmm. And I do kind of think him idolizing Secretariat did kind of put him down a bad path.
Yeah.
Since Secretariat was kind of like, in this show, a pretty morally gray character.
Yeah.
But in this show, each of them, or in this episode, each of them kind of like put on their own act in this talent show kind of thing. And then at the end, they always go down this empty black doorway, which is supposed to represent their deaths. And at the very end of the episode, his best friend is trying to coax him through the door. And Bojack says, "See you on the other side." And his best friend, Herb, goes, "No, there is no other side. Don't you get it?" And it just gets like swallowed by the door. And it's the most terrifying and like existential thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was a rough ending to a rough show.
And he does end up surviving.
Yes.
We probably should have put a spoiler warning for this show if we were just going to go through the whole thing.
We'll
Yeah,
put it
what
in the
the heck?
title. It's fine.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I guess Marshall. Marshall, you should watch it.
I don't really want to.
I don't know if you should. It's rough.
It's a good show.
All right, and then
I think it's my favorite show of all time.
one character that we really haven't mentioned that we probably should is Diane.
Oh yeah, Diane.
Diane is basically Bojack's moral anchor. I would say. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, she kind of keeps him not totally morally straight, but she kind of like guides him.
She doesn't even do that. She basically gives up Bojack,
Mm-hmm.
gives up on Bojack in a lot of points in the show, and her giving up on him is what drives him to be a better person. Because he's like, even if Diane, this woman that I love, can't stay with me, then there's something wrong with me, something that I need to fix, and that's what drives him to become a better person towards the end of the show.
And the final ending I really like because there was a major theme throughout the show that like life never like life doesn't get a happy ending. Like when Diane gets married, she says, "That was the happiest day of my life, but what does that say about the rest of my life?" Like it doesn't end afterward. You have to keep going. There's always a day after. And so I was very confused as to how they were going to end the show. And I think the way they did it was really good. Bojack kind of just went through each of the major characters and had a conversation with them where he like wrapped things up. Not totally, but just kind of like found resolution.
Yeah.
Like it's very clear that he still has work and that he still like will have times where he relapses and that he'll be constantly working, but that he's finally like reached a mentally stable place.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That's all I have to say about Bojack.
I think it's the best show I've ever seen. It's
definitely in the top 5 for me.
I think it or Breaking Bad. They seem like very different shows from just like first looking, but honestly, they're both pretty on the same level as depressing, and I'd say Bojack is more depressing.
Right.
And then also, The View from Halfway Down, the second to last episode, is the third highest rated episode of TV on IMDb.
And that's crazy because it's an animated TV series. That's out of this world.
The only things beating it are the second to last episode of Breaking Bad, Ozymandias, which is like the titular episode of Breaking Bad, and I think some Attack on Titan episode.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was like the last episode on Friends got a super high rating.
It's one of the two. On the thing I saw, it was Attack on Titan, but I don't know.
Okay, so we're moving on to our current news. Marshall, you are welcome to chime in on this one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die.
Oh yeah, coronavirus is out right now, so
But not really.
we're risking our lives by getting together to do this podcast.
Yeah, we should really be 6 feet apart.
Oh yes, of course. Dang.
You're gonna die. You're gonna die. Congratulations.
Another thing is Call of Duty Warzone came out in the past couple of weeks. I've played it. I think it's really fun. I think Marshall thinks it's really fun.
I won twice because I'm better than you.
You're better than
I'm good.
You're better than our entire audience.
All of them. Well, probably your entire audience of no one.
Very true.
So Warzone is a battle royale, and basically what Call of Duty did is they took all the good parts from all the other battle royales, and they stuck them in this one, and they took out all the bad parts. Like Apex Legends shield system, where the best shield versus the worst shield, they're like, it wasn't even comparable. And they have shields in Call of Duty Warzone, but there's 1 shield, 2 shields, and 3 shields. And really, they don't do much because the time to kill is so low, it's fine.
They do a lot. If you don't have your shields, you get slapped.
Yeah, but the TTK is so fast that if you sneak up on someone and you don't have any shield and they have full shield, you're going to kill them. Yeah.
But that doesn't happen because most people in the game are completely clueless.
Yeah. Oh, another recent news thing is, if any of you guys have watched Altered Carbon...
That's me.
They're doing an animated film that's coming out in the next week. I don't know if it's going to be any good. It's only an hour and 40 minutes long, and considering the average Altered Carbon episode's an hour long, I don't really know how it's considered a film. I don't know. They're just doing it. It takes place on Harlan's world, and you're still on season 1, right?
I finished the first 2 episodes.
of season 1?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you don't even know about Harlan's World
There's
yet.
a lot of.
There's a lot of stuff going on in that show. All right,
I'm
that's
glad our audience couldn't see what Marshall mouthed. Should I watch Altered Carbon?
I would recommend it. I would like talking about it. I think it's a fun show.
Okay, maybe we'll talk about it.
You're not allowed to talk about it. It's
Okay.
not school appropriate.
We can talk about most of it.
Bojack probably wasn't school appropriate. But
No, it's most definitely not, but it's okay. Okay, so our next topic for today is virtual reality.
VR.
We're still really early on in the stages of VR. If you think about it, it's only been a thing for what, 8 years now?
No, like 20.
I've been
20?
following
Yeah, the
VR,
first
for
VR
so long.
The first VR goggles came out in like the 90s.
Okay, but were they actually VR?
No, it was pretty trash.
Yeah, exactly. So really, it's been like 8 years, I would guesstimate.
I remember following like Oculus, thinking it was like the coolest thing ever in
It
like
really
elementary
is.
school.
It really is the coolest thing ever. I got a VR headset, an Oculus, for my for Christmas this year, and when I unboxed it and like did the whole setup thing, I mean, it was like a trip into another reality. It was crazy. I guess that's why they call it virtual reality.
It is kind of a trip.
It really is a trip. Okay.
Trips are fun.
So what I wanted to talk about virtual reality is all the different stuff that you can do with it. Right, it's a really good time to talk about it right now because of the coronavirus thing, and everyone's trying to stay in their own homes. No one's going to work anymore. Everyone's working from home and whatnot.
It's just gonna turn into like a Ready Player One situation
It
where
really-
everyone's like, no one leaves their house.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, so what you can do with virtual reality right now is there are, for work purposes, there are chat rooms. So like everybody is supposed to go to the meeting, but everyone's on like house lockdown basically right now. You can do virtual chat rooms. So you can still talk to people one-on-one in the meeting while everyone's still there. So you can get everyone's attention in that server by talking loudly, but you can also whisper to someone who's right in front of you because they have what's the term called? Where you can talk to people near you but not far away because of actual sound.
Proximity chat.
Proximity chat. Yes, that is a big fun thing.
I just crushed a binder.
Thanks, Marshall.
You're welcome.
Okay, yeah, so that's really cool. And then other things for work would be like 3D design workspaces for engineers, architects, and even for artists. There's like a bunch of different art things that artists can use. It doesn't. What I think is really cool about this is that it doesn't waste any resources. You don't need any paper, any ink, or anything like that for these artists and engineers and architects to design what they want to design because it's all in virtual reality. So I think that's really cool.
And you can see it with your eyeballs. That's like a lot of people they don't have the capability to look at something and turn it around in their brain. So if like having that in VR and being able to see what they're working on in not a 2D space and I think a 3D space, and it's all changeable and workable, and
you can rotate it, you can go around it, you can see the
where-
bottom, you can see the top.
What was I going?
I don't know. Where were you going?
You know, I think Yeti mics are really directional. If you scoot it back, I don't know. Or you do what you want.
Why are you moving the mic?
I don't know.
Okay, so on to games in VR. What I think will be really cool in the future, right now, they're still really in development right now, but racing games, flight simulators, all that in VR is really cool because they have that surround sound in the VR headsets, and then you can also look around in your environment. So I think it's really going to change racing games for people that are into that because it can make it a lot more competitive, being able to physically turn your head and look behind you or look at the rearview mirror and stuff like that. I think that's going to be really cool. I watched a lot of gameplay earlier today about this game called Project Cars Virtual Reality. Project Cars is one of the biggest competitive racing games that there is right now just normally, and they're working on VR games for it, and it looks beautiful. The cars are amazing. They sound amazing. I don't know. I'm not really into racing games, but even I might get this after watching all this gameplay today because it looks
How much
like
is
a lot of fun. I think it's like $25, $30. That's another great thing about virtual reality is most of the games are $30 or less, comparable to the $60 that you'd pay for a normal game.
Yeah, and it's because they're all made by indie developers.
Yeah, so it's really cool.
Okay, before we keep going, like, the thing I think that's interesting is, like, the hardware you need to run VR is like constantly like decreasing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because like I remember before you needed like a monster PC to be able to run an Oculus.
Quadruple SLI GTX 1080 Ti. i9 9700K.
You don't have that, Matt, do you?
I do not know.
There's
Marshall's
4
PC.
graphics cards. I only have one. 64 gigabytes of RAM.
But I mean, that's to run it like max.
2 frames per second.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Now it's much more realistic.
I have a GTX 1060.
That's what I have.
It is not a good graphics card. Like, it's fine, but it's nothing special.
It's a good card. It's just
It's
not...
a budget card. Like, you're
It's
able to play games.
Yeah. Like, I can't run any games on max settings, like, at all. It'll just break my computer. But I can run VR. I mean, that's pretty crazy. If you look at that, like, 4 years ago, not possible.
And
Sophia
then
make this too.
Yeah. Thanks, Marshall.
Thanks, ADHD Marshall. Pretty cool.
And then there's also like another version of the Oculus, which like all the hardware's in the headset, right? You can run it independent
the
of
Oculus Quest. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really know if that's good or not.
It's not.
It's
not comparable.
It's actually if you want to play VR and you do not have a PC, then it's a good investment because the PC that you need to run VR is going to be $800 to $1,000. Okay, and then you would have to buy a Rift S headset, which is going to cost another $400. So you're looking at $1,200 minimum to play VR without getting that Oculus Quest. But with the Quest, on sale, that thing's $400, but normally it's $600. So you're looking at basically half price of what you would pay if you got your own computer and a Rift S.
What are you going to do in college? Like, are you going to have enough room for a Rift?
Absolutely not, but I'm going to play it anyway.
Okay.
You'll have to like change. You'll have to make your entire room modular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Push your bed onto the side.
Yeah, I was
Play
thinking
on your
Annam
bed.
dorms are not big enough.
It'll be fine.
Or
It'll be
Rift.
fine. Yeah. Okay, so then on to the games that I actually have in play. Number 1 is going to be Beat Saber.
That's the most iconic.
That's the most iconic VR game. It's the one where basically there's a level for every song, and at the beat of the song, there's like
You use lightsabers in your hands to like hit blocks that come with the rhythm of the song. And
Yes.
it's kind of like if Guitar Hero were in VR and you were hitting all the things with your hands.
yeah,
It's pretty cool.
it is pretty cool, and it's
Okay,
a lot of fun.
Marshall, could you chill with the Cheez-Its?
I'm putting them away.
Okay, just leave them.
I don't want to go stale.
Marshall is a much better Beat Saber player than I am. So Marshall, what are your thoughts on Beat Saber?
It makes you sweaty.
Thank you, Marshall.
Insightful.
What's really cool about something that's really cool about VR wrists?
Yeah,
Okay.
you use your wrists
Yes,
a lot.
you do use your wrists.
Jack had stiff wrists.
I did.
He was going...
They can't see you, Marshall.
Okay. So something really cool about VR games now is that you can mod them. People make mods for the games, and you can install them very easily through a lot of websites. One of them is Vortex. That's what I use. It's just it's super easy to mod games, unless you're Marshall and can't get it to work for some reason.
It's not that easy.
It's really easy.
hard.
But for Beat Saber, you can just download this thing called Beat Drop, and then people make their own levels for any song that you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, like Godzilla came
Like
out like
Godzilla.
a month ago, and we were playing it on Beat Saber.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Except Beat Drop crashed when I tried to fix it.
But we still played it.
We still play it. It's fine.
You played it once. I didn't get to play
Listen, they're working on it.
Yeah, and then
It's a work in progress.
another one of my favorite games on VR is Blade and Sorcery, which is basically a VR fantasy fighting game, and you can mod that really easily too. I won't get into that too much because that's not exactly school appropriate because it's a lot of
Violence.
violence. Yes.
it. Take the head and
Stop. Stop. Stop scaring people, Marshall.
Okay. Another cool thing about VR is that they are turning normal games that everybody loves, like
Subnautica.
Half-Life, Skyrim,
Subnautica.
Fallout, Subnautica, and they're turning them all into
Minecraft.
VR games. Okay, Minecraft is actually a mod made by a private guy.
Oh, okay.
So not Mojang sponsored. Yeah, and they're turning them all into VR experiences, which is really cool. Because I'm a big fan of Skyrim, so I got Skyrim VR, and I think it was a good investment because I've had a lot of fun turning what used to be my favorite video game into my favorite VR game. I mean, it's just awesome.
But it's not your favorite VR game.
It's not my favorite VR game. It was for a few days, but yeah.
What's your favorite VR game now?
That's a good question. I like Beat Saber. I like Blade and Sorcery. Yeah, those are probably my two favorite.
Boneworks made me hurt my finger. I was.
Okay, you want to explain what Boneworks is?
Oh, it's like Half-Life.
They don't know what Half-Life is.
Okay, it's like a game.
It's a physics puzzle
It's
game.
a physics-based blam shoot
Puzzle game.
puzzle game.
With weapons and whatnot that you can use
Can
to
you even
complete
say
the
that word?
levels. Weapon?
Yeah, I don't think you're
Just
allowed to
said
say
it.
that in school.
I'm pretty sure you're allowed to say the word weapon in school.
I don't know. Anyway,
Might
I
scare
was
people.
I was gonna smash someone's head in with a sledgehammer.
Don't say it too loud.
What?
Don't say weapon too loud. Everyone will duck.
I was gonna smash someone's head in with a sledgehammer, and
Okay,
my
what?
little brother's chair was like where his head was, but I couldn't see my little brother's chair. I didn't know he was there. He pulled up a chair while I was playing and I smashed the dude's head in. My finger was swelled up for like a week.
You
And
gotta be careful when you're playing VR.
It's not my. He entered my play area. It's not my fault. It was
Yeah.
his fault.
Well, there.
And he's stupid.
Okay.
I think our podcasts with guests are gonna be a lot more entertaining.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Something cool that me and Marshall have spent a lot of time playing in VR is Pavlov and another game called Onward, and those are both tactical first-person shooters. Me and Marshall play a lot of first-person shooters together. FPS games. Okay, it's fine.
That has the word shooter in it.
Well, not if they don't know what FPS stands for.
Well, then what's the point of using the word FPS?
It's not a word, it's an acronym, whatever. Okay. So me and Marshall play a lot of FPS games together off of VR, and we also play a lot of FPS games together on VR. And it's completely different in VR. The skills don't translate at all in this. I don't know, Marshall, how would you describe how different it is?
It's like starting over. Grant's really.
That was a good description.
Grant's really good at the game because he has a good point of aim. It's something I think it's a skill, right, that you work on, like your handwriting or something. And he has a really good point of aim because he's a world. Why did it? Oh, okay. He's a world class player on shooter on the shooting team. And
Just so you know, I'm not like editing any of this. I think this is great.
Yeah.
Why?
It's fun.
What was I saying?
He's a world class.
Grant is really good at Pavlov. He has really good aim in He doesn't have good reaction time because he's Grant. But Grant's not going to watch this, right? He doesn't care.
Use your words, Marshall.
I don't
Marshall's
remember what my words
brain
were.
just crashed.
Basically, Grant is good at aiming in Pavlov because he shoots guns in real life.
Yeah,
That's what
he's
Marshall's
like
trying to say.
he's like ranked top 10 in the U.S.
Yeah,
and
Those
shooting.
skills translate.
Yeah.
But no, the rest of the mouse does not. Clicking is not the same as pulling the trigger.
Well said.
Well
Thank you.
said, Mr. Stanton.
So like,
Alright.
if you put all
You're
the
done,
COD
Marshall.
players in the world,
You're done.
in
Okay, it's okay. Okay, so another game that was free. There are also a lot of free games on VR, which is very interesting. And I think it's because VR is so new, not a lot of people have it. People are trying to get basically the word out about it, trying to get more people to invest in it. So I played Spider-Man Far From Home in VR. It was free, so they didn't put a lot of, detail into it because they didn't have to make it worth people's money because it's free. But it was fun to swing around as Spider-Man in New York City. and I think that was really cool.
I did that too.
Yes, but I mean, it was a free game, so it ended pretty quickly. It was probably about an hour and a half of fun, and that was it. 2 games that I did not
Why are you
like at
getting
all.
books down, Marshall?
I'm looking at it.
Is
Is the podcast not keeping your attention?
Nothing keeps my attention.
Okay.
There are only 2 games on VR that I bought and I did not think were worth my money, and one of them I was very upset about. It's Vader Immortal. It's made by Disney because they own Star Wars now, and it was a 3-part episode game, and it was about a new Jedi basically going up against Darth Vader to open some cube thing that you had to open with the Force, and it was so poorly made, and there was no action at all. And it was basically you just walking until you see Darth Vader. And in the first episode, there was 1 combat thing. 1. It was only $10, and it was not at all worth my $10 because I finished it in about 20 minutes, and I was bored the entire time. And I think Disney could have done a much better job on that, and I was not happy with it.
Did you see they're making a new Half-Life game in VR?
Yes, I did. I'm very excited for it.
Half-Life
Even
3.
though I do not think my PC is going to be able to handle it, but
Marshall's can.
yes.
Though? We don't know that.
Another game that I'm not happy that I bought, but I think actually has pretty good potential is this game called Wands, and it's supposed to be a multiplayer, basically wand magic combat game where you have a wand and you could put 4 different spells on it, and there's 30 different spells in the game, and I'm sure if the game gets more popular that they'll add more. And it's basically just one-on-one. You use your spells to try to drain the other person's health, and you can teleport around the little arenas that they have and try to get the drop on people. And it's a really tactical, I guess, game, except for the fact that nobody plays it right now. So you have to wait 15 minutes to get in the game, and then you play against someone who is not very good at the game. And yeah, so I was bored the entire time playing it. But everything else in VR is really fun, and it's really cool. And I think it has a massive future.
VR is the future.
It is the future.
We're in the gigabyte age. We're in the 70s, we were in the kilobytes. There's a lot of thousands of bytes. And then we did the megabytes. And that's a lot of... A megabyte is a lot of information, but to us it's nothing. And then now we're at gigabytes, and that's a lot of information. We treat it... It's just 1,000th of a terabyte, and it's not that big of a deal to us because download speeds are getting a lot faster, and we don't think about it that much. But a gigabyte is a lot of information, and a gigahertz is extremely fast, and it's just kind of mind-boggling that you're able to simulate an entire world and even project it onto a monitor, much less 2 monitors that are up close to your face and in a lens and
give
all
you
that.
Perception of distances.
And track your hands, and it's...
And legs in some points.
It's witchcraft.
It really is. Yeah. It's not that impressive if you don't really think about it. But the more you think about it, the more you think of the stuff that you don't understand, the more impressed you are with the worlds that these developers create within virtual reality. It's brand new, but it's going to be our entire future. And you mentioned Ready Player One earlier, where they had haptic gloves, haptic suits, which is basically just... It gives you...
Tracks all your movement.
It tracks all your movement and gives you feeling. So you'll be able to grab something in virtual reality and actually feel it. And I mean, we're not that far away from it, because I have the iPhone 7 in my hand right now. And a lot of people don't know this, but the home button on this, it's not actually a button. It just vibrates when you press it, and that's called haptic feedback, which is what haptic suits are.
It's not... They have haptic gloves.
Yeah, no, but that's it, right now. And, nobody has access to it. There's no access. There's no public access for them. It's all in development.
We just know they're coming.
All commercial.
So hopefully 10, 15 years, that'll be the standard in VR. But what do we know? We're 3 high school kids. So
You're a high school kid.
That's what we said.
I don't know. That's all I have to talk about VR.
Wait, look at the list.
You want to talk about something?
So there's you can also train yourself in karate with Empower.
Wait, empower.
Okay, do we really need to include
Yes.
this? I thought we reached a pretty good stopping point.
What? No. We need to talk about empowering him. Her.
So basically, Empower is it's a VR self-defense training for women who don't feel comfortable around
Men.
Basically. Yeah, that's what it is. I thought it was a pretty cool idea because a lot of people won't do that because they're like not self-confident enough to go out in public and get this self-defense training. So they can do it in the comfort of their home. No one's around them. I think it's a really cool idea. And then another VR thing that we didn't talk about that I wanted to was virtual sightseeing. And basically, there's a lot of stuff out there right now. You can virtually sightsee Mount Everest, the Seven Wonders of the World, the Titanic even. I don't know how they did that, but they did that. So, just a lot of cool things that history nerds can go look at. I don't know.
Google Maps supports VR in certain locations.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that, but I'm going to check it out now.
So you can be in the virtual, real reality.
Yes, you can, Jack. That is a good point. Bruh. That's all I got.
Crazy times.
Crazy times.
All right. Hope you enjoyed Little Bits. Me and Matt's podcast. Marshall, any last words?
Thank you for being here, Marshall.
Data.
DNA. Okay. Quantum telecommunication. They came out with the Ansible.
No, we're done, Marshall.
No.
We're done.
Okay.
Okay.
When did you get McDonald's?
What? Okay, bye, guys. Hi, I'm Jack.
And I'm Matt.
And this is Little Bits, the podcast where we talk about movies, TV shows, and other stuff we think is neat. Today, we've got Marshall as a guest on the podcast.
Hi.
Marshall's very invested in eating his Cheez-Its right now.
Yeah, we're going to give Marshall... Since... Okay, oh my god. Okay, I need to stop.
You need to stop. You just need to edit this out.
No,
or just not edit it out.
This is funny.
You didn't stop it.
Oh, I didn't?
No.
Oh, no.
Don't stop. Just go get the drink of water.
Yeah.
So, Matt, why did Jack... What's going on with Jack?
I don't know, Marshall. What's going on with Jack?
What's going on with him?
I don't know.
You want a Cheez-It?
Yeah, I want
No, you can't have my Cheez-Its. It's illegal. I told you.
Oh my
You
god.
can't have me.
Dial or something.
I don't know.
Still go.
You guys are all getting corona now.
This is
Good.
Sophia's. Do you want to see Sophia's heart microphone?
There's no camera. I'm gonna gonna put all of this at the end as like a blooper reel.
Yeah, no, like just like the last video for our channel should just be bloopers.
Okay, yeah.